That is right, and the next match, this is one that I've been excited about for a long time. It's going to be Go See Terran against MTW Infernal, and wow, I'm excited for this, man. These guys, really great players. First, let's look at the map pool. It's the same map pool as before, of course. The same map order for today. First map, Fighting Spirit. Second map, Outsider. Third map, Destination, if needed. Fourth map, Andromeda, and if needed after that, fifth map, Neo Tornado.
I think this is going to be really cool, especially because I know these two guys on a personal level, and I know that they're very ambitious. A little bit like Cole and Morrow, they're younger. They're not quite as young as Cole and Morrow, respectively.
Go See Terran, a very young player.
He's 16, right?
Yeah.
Am I correct? Okay.
But let's talk about Infernal first. Let's go ahead and take a look-see at the Infernal screen. Infernal, this is a guy that I have been talking up.
This is a guy that apparently also only played Zerg when he got to the A ranks. But what were you talking about?
Anyways, Infernal is a player that I have been hyping for years now. This guy, he is a superb Protoss player. He has been one of the very top Protoss Foreigner players for years, but the problem is that he's one of these players that always fails, when it matters. He always chokes and never plays up to his potential. He should have been at the WCG World Finals for Germany for the past 4 years.
Yeah, he's been around. He's certainly been around, but nerves play a role. In fact, I can even speak from personal experience where when I first showed up to StarCraft tournaments, I was the one that was a little bit anxious, and it took me a while to get over that. But yeah, and here he is now at the TSL, and this is basically the biggest tournament for foreigners. Everybody's here participating in it.
That's right, and Infernal, he just keeps better, man. And in fact, I want to say, he is one of the very best Protosses in the scene right this second. In practice, he may even be better than White Raw, which may surprise a lot of people. But I am telling you guys that in practice, there are these people that play so well in practice that just do not put up the games in real life. Yes, White Raw does great in tournaments, but in practice, Infernal may be the best foreigner Protoss.
Yeah, I think you're right. He's got the brains for it, and that's what matters with Protoss. Macroing a little bit easier, but build orders, there's so many more for Protoss than there are for other races. So you got to know when you're going to use the right build order, and you got to judge your opponent psychologically. And I think he's got that, but I think the real burden for Infernal is can he manage himself psychologically under the stress?
Yeah, and I got to point towards Mainby because this year at WCG Germany, once again he got knocked out, did not do as well as he was expected to do. But in the TSL so far this season, he beat Hater. I mean, he took out Sawyer. Sawyer's a pretty good player.
Yeah.
Not quite the same level as Hater though. Hater is a player that really should be in the round of 16, one of the best foreigners for years and years. And Infernal knocked him out with a very, very strong showing. So, this guy, maybe he's finally over this. Maybe we can see his full skill here.
We're going to find out.
Not quite yet, because we have another player.
See, I was testing you. You passed my
Yes.
my in-broadcast test. No, but let's talk about Go See Terran. I think
that's right.
This guy's actually quite interesting.
This guy, for me, is a very interesting player. I've been talking about him, about his potential. He's not there yet, but this kid has a boatload of potential. He's very young at 16 years old, the current WCG Mexico champion.
Yep.
And, what can we say about this guy? He's very young and super, super, super motivated to be a pro gamer.
Yeah, I think he's somebody, as we can see here on our information screen, he does sleep on the same schedule as somebody who would be living in Korea. Like us, we don't sleep on that schedule right now because it's actually almost 6 in the morning. We're talking about this, but on a serious note, this guy actually does train with Koreans on iCup, and I can't emphasize the difference of what it's like to just play on, let's say, American hours, for instance, since we're both Americans, versus actually playing on Korean hours. And what's interesting about him is that he's young. He's very inquisitive. When I met him, not just asking you and me, but everybody questions. He wasn't one of these guys that was maybe a genius, but a little bit stuck up and didn't want to know the opinions of other people in the game. And he's incredibly ambitious.
He is. This guy, as you said, plays with Koreans mostly. Really wants to come to Korea. watches every single game of a pro Terran being played, studies them all, knows all the build orders, and plays a very correct and very potential-filled style of Terran.
Right.
Now, it's hard to pull that off, but he does it, and really he's basically like an Hydra that is not refined.
That's a very interesting way to put it. Also note, he was ranked at 16th. So he was not somebody like Ma, who was like just abnormally high in the ranks, but he wasn't somebody that kind of scooted in here, just barely passing the finish line.
That's right, but it should be noted that he was not a dodger through the TSL, one of the brave few, and you know, I don't know if there's too much more to say about this guy.
I don't think so.
A very talented young player, and I want to know, what do you think is going to be the results of this match?
Well, I think it's going to depend a lot on how Infernal opens. Especially for Infernal, because when you get a player who is quite smart but doesn't always play perfectly early on in events, it's going to come down to does he get a good start? Does he get that good head start? And is he comfy with that? Gosi Terran doesn't strike me as an emotional player. In fact, like when I've sat behind Noni and watched him, or when I've sat the person I think of most as a non-emotional player, actually going way old school, is Guillaume Patry. Like Gur, because he is just a very unfazed player when the game's going on, and that's what I think Gosi is. These guys are kind of opposites when it comes to nerves.
Yeah, you know, but I think nerves may be playing a little bit more of a factor, because this is the PokerStrategy.com Team Liquid Star League, the most important tournament he has ever played in, and you know, he's done well lately. Infernal. Will he be able to play at his maximum skill? I think if Infernal plays at his absolute maximum skill, he will take this down. If not, I think Gosi Terran will take it. But, you know, Gosi Terran, I have the utmost faith in him. I definitely rank him as a top 3 foreign Terran. So, you know, with that being said, let's take a quick look at the first map that we're going to see them play on. And that is going to be Fighting Spirit.
Yeah, Fighting Spirit should be pretty interesting, especially if this pans out into the mid-game. Terran versus Protoss. As long as Protoss can keep you away early on, it can be very dangerous, especially if Protoss starts to secure the other mains.
That's right.
Because you're never going to get that other main. There's so much room to make, you know that late game phase where you already have 10 gateways in your main, and then you erect 10 more gateways in another main. That's what Terran doesn't want to have. It's not like Destination, where all Terran has to do is weather the storm, and you're going to win based off the type of units you have in the late game scenario.
Now, you know, a lot of people ask me, how should I play as Protoss against Terran on this map? Because a lot of people feel that this map is pretty hard against Terran. And what I say is, you know what, this map is just like Colosseum, but a little bit better for Terran. Because, you know, Terran can easily take the first expansion and even the second one, so they can easily get up to that 3 base and become quite scary. But what Protoss should really do is just focus on not letting Terran get the 4th base, very much like on Colosseum.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, Infernal, a very smart player, and I think that is how he's going to end up trying to play this game.
You know, another interesting point is, even though it's hard for Terran to get the 4th base, that's the real nightmare for Terran, is if Terran does secure the 4th base, and you're both in this macro war where it's recalls and Terran edging forward and you know, dropping expansions, there's this location in the center of the map that they can that ultimately Terran can win if he weathers that Protoss storm, which can be a nightmare to deal with. Recalls all over the place and stuff like that. So that's something else to keep in mind, if we even get to that phase of the game.
Indeed.
For all we know, somebody's going to make gateways in the middle of the map, and this analysis is actually invalid.
You know, I am totally doubting that. I think both these guys just feel that they are better straight up. I think that both of them are going to just play their A game, and I think this is going to be a great series.
I think so.
So I think that we have just about analyzed the hell out of this and the players. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, well, let's go. Okay, here we go. The map is Fighting Spirit. We have the Hulk Toss Infernal in the top right of the map with Protoss. And at the bottom right, we have our Mexican warrior, Gosi Terran, with Terran.
They're both hugging the right side of the map, as you pointed out. But this can be a very, very interesting map that really rewards, I would say, mechanical style in the late game.
Yeah, and this map is really becoming very heavily played. It went from Python to Destination. I think that this is picking up the reins. This is in the new Courage map set, which means that this is going to be the map that Gosi Terran is the best at, because he practices mostly with amateurs that are in Courage, and that makes him play a lot of Fighting Spirit, which is the overlap map between the Korean Courage tournament and the Team Liquid Star League.
Yeah. By the way, again, I can't emphasize how exciting it is to have events like the TSL. And this was brought here by a lot of hard work from the TSL staff.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to remind everybody
total
of that.
props to them, man. The
Yeah.
best community in the entire esports
Absolutely.
industry. It is absolutely, without a doubt, the StarCraft foreigners, the guys over at TeamLiquid.net, GhostGamers.net, all these different sites. Really, TeamLiquid.net putting so much into this community, really keeping it afloat.
Absolutely. And what's funny, actually, about Team Liquid is that it's just StarCraft, and yet it's so big.
It is big,
I mean, this is living proof that Korea is not some strange anomaly of people that like StarCraft for I don't understand why. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's that everybody loves StarCraft. So we just want to say thank you to everybody, the Team Liquid staff, because
right.
this tournament would not be organized without them.
A lot of hard work, and this is really, really peculiar. Let's take a look at Gosi Terran's main base here. He has one barracks starting. He's scouted so quickly with that SCV up towards the top right, and no gas. So this is an absolutely bizarre build. 12 Nexus, 13 Nexus, very popular builds here. Maybe he was expecting that and wanted to just open up with a super fast command center, but we see he's going to scout first position Infernal and see a normal tech build. What is Gosi Terran doing here?
I wish I had an answer, but I don't know. I think here's my take on it, and I'm okay being wrong about this, but he might be scouting early so that if he sees a fast Nexus, he can fast command center. But even that, I'm not sure about.
Yeah,
I really don't know. I really don't have an answer for you.
Yeah, I think that this is probably a build that's a little bit weird that he has worked out somehow with his Korean friends.
Thank God he's making a command center, because I look super smart.
You look so
smart.
And
I was actually going out on a whim there. No, this is quite interesting, because remember, Fighting Spirit is a large map. Even when you see maps that are the same size, like as far as title set goes, it's a map that I don't care if you make gateways outside of your base at your expansion, you will never kill a Zerg player, for instance, rushing. And this is, going fast command center like this, you got to be careful, because a crafty Protoss like Infernal might be able to just concoct a build order to counter this. But if he doesn't spot it, and you can see the positioning of Gosi's Marines, he might actually be in for shock.
This is actually so interesting. If we take a quick look at Infernal's base, already got that Nexus going, just starting range now, and this is actually a build that Infernal's practice partners know very well from him. This is a build that you never see anyone do. He goes basically pylon, gateway, assimilator, and core, and before any units, before his second pylon, he makes his Nexus. So it's almost, it's such a quick Nexus, and it holds every rush.
It's smart because it's a rhythm build. There's a moment where you spot gateway, pylon, cybernetics core, and you relax.
Yeah.
And you just kind of zoom around him looking for range, but he actually makes a Nexus and then makes range right away. But what's weird about it is seeing this very standard Infernal build, and it's actually quite smart. I mean, I would recommend this. If you're a player that is like really struggling at sea, you will get so many wins off a build like this.
Absolutely. But, this is Infernal specific. I don't think I've ever seen another player do this build.
No, I haven't. And I'm not saying, when I said, if you're at sea and you're struggling, I'm not saying this is like a special sea player build, but I want to emphasize that this is actually quite smart. And this can, if somebody hasn't seen this before, they don't know what to do.
Indeed. Now, let's take a look at Gosi Terran's base. He's just started the gas. He's got one factory up, second factory started. And so both of them really so quick, their builds almost mirror each other, Gosi Terran didn't really get any tech and just went straight to expand. We have Infernal that didn't really make any units, just went straight to expand. So they're kind of on equal footing right now, and I don't think either of them expected this with these opening builds at all.
I gotta jump into the analyst role for a minute, is that even though Fast Nexus against Terran, because this is one of the builds I actually use a lot, is quite strong, you do cut a lot of probes. on the way. But the point is that all of a sudden you have more mineral patches to get your probes to. So you make up for that. But I don't believe with Gosie's build he actually cut SCVs.
Yeah,
so
no.
Gosie's actually ahead economically. Because what happens is once the Nexus is on the way to completion, you say, all right, most Terrans are going to two-factory me. They're going to freak out and say, oh my god, I'm not going to deal with this in mid-game. I need to kill you now. I need to punish you for taking that expansion. So you see players cut sometimes up to 6 probes, rush for range like we saw Gosie do, and get a few Dragoons. And of course, we see the robotics facility up here. That's actually one of the big weaknesses with fast double Nexus, is that you actually cannot get observers quickly. So you don't know what Terrans do. You don't know if he's going observers, drop ships. You don't know if he's going to factory or getting a fast armory. So you have to kind of play off intuition. But the weirdest thing about this game, of course, is that Gosie actually went for a fast command center. So we got to see how Infernal's going to react to this in the mid game.
Quite true, quite true. Now, Gosie Terran, he's gotten his scanners out, and he has gone ahead and scanned, not really found anything. But, Infernal staying on 2 gateways, going right to a Citadel of a Dune at the edge of his base, along with some observers. So I think what we're going to see here is, because of this quick second gas as well, perhaps a rush to Arbiter and just a 2-base Arbiter build. Infernal does like to play like that. It's a very strong strategy, especially with such a quick expansion. But Gosie Terran, looks like he might be setting up for kind of a funny timing build here. I mean, let's take a look at his main base here. He's adding 2 factories. He's already got 5 siege tanks, 2 more on the way. And I think what we're going to see is a super pressure build here. Take 7 tanks and his Marines and some SCVs, go start pressuring before Infernal really starts pumping units, and just rally Vultures up.
Yeah, one thing about builds like this is, like, let's look at his gas for a second. He has about, 500 gas? Okay, almost 600. You can crank out a few tanks, and this may not impact the game or not, because we don't know what he's going to do yet, but if he can actually get a turret hidden anywhere, even at the halfway marker, he can get this huge leap forward, and as you said, just reinforce the hell out of that with Vultures. And this is one of the advantages about fast expanding in this kind of weird, I'm not supposed to be able to get away with this, but I am build, where you're going to get 2 refineries so quickly, and you're not going to be punished, because Protoss is just in a hurry to get Dragoon range and defend from Vultures, and then get robotics to figure out what you're doing. But by the time Protoss figures out what you're doing, it might be too late.
That's right. Now, Gosie Terran, let's take a quick look at his base. 2 more tanks on the way, so he's actually going to go up to about 9 siege tanks, getting mines and speed right now, plus 2 factories. So he is definitely going for a 6-factory timing push, and this build is going to be so strong. Let's take a look at Infernal's base so we can see why. At the bottom right corner of his base, we have the Stargate, and we have the Arbiter Tribunal going up. And in the meantime, for gateways, he has 4 already up, with 3 more being made. Now the thing is that he has no Zealots yet to help with defend against the siege tanks. So Gosie Terran is actually going to have a really great timing here with his Vultures. He's just going to move up with these tanks against pure Dragoon army of Infernal, and then just rally ridiculous amounts of Vultures. They build so fast, they travel across the map to reinforce so fast. So as long as he stays on top of his macro and his multitasking, Gosie Terran's attack, I can definitely see this killing Infernal.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and I also want to note, whenever you're Protoss and you see those double factory upgrades go, that's when you say, okay, if he's a good player, the timing rush is coming enough. Obviously, both these guys are so good. And this is a big significant thing, is he's sending out all these SCVs with this. I feel like Daniel Lee's finally able to talk to Gosie Terran and say, bring your SCVs. He's sending them out with his army, and this is actually huge. This can take him out.
This is right. Now let's look through the middle of the map. Infernal moving around the army right here, and this is really bizarre. Will Gosie Terran know how to deal with this? Because it looks like Infernal may want to just, kind of go up, and is he going for a flank? I don't even know. This is a really weird situation right here that I was not expecting on seeing, and Infernal just kind of trying to buy time. He does not want to engage, and look at this, Gosie Terran just chasing the Dragoons. Beautiful moves with the Vultures, and Infernal might be in trouble here.
Yeah, actually, but you know what? Actually, Infernal's handling this pretty well. He's backing up. He took out a reasonable number of Vultures, and Terran doesn't have position. I don't believe there's turrets outside of his opponent's base. Excuse me, there is one turret, and actually, well, that's going to be huge. because you can't get observers over there. And right now, Protoss, because they're rushing to Arbiters, is dependent on Zealots with Zealot legs.
You know, right this moment, we see that Infernal way out of position. As long as Ghosty Terran can get a lot of Vultures reinforcing up here, he is in a great spot, in my opinion. We see that he is defended in his natural well, and he is moving up now, making turrets, a lot of turrets to stop any Arbiters. And right now, Infernal in his natural, if you look at it, a lot of Speed Zealots being made. But, well, we're going to have to see if Ghosty Terran can get enough Vultures up here to defend against this. And here we go. This is a huge part of the game. So many Speed Zealots going on. Not enough Vultures up there. Where are your Vultures, Ghosty Terran? They are not guarding the Siege Tanks. He engaged the Dragoons with the Vultures while the Zealots cleaned up his Siege Tanks. And now Infernal takes a big, gigantic, huge lead against Ghosty Terran. You know, just a total mess up there by him. You know, he did not reinforce correctly there. If he had his Vultures in the right place in front of his Siege Tanks, he could have held that and been in a great position. But, you know, what can I say? Infernal, he played well. He lost all his units as well, walking into some Spider Mines. So, you know, still, this is anyone's game. Vultures are a really quick reinforcing unit, and in fact, I feel as if he can stabilize with these 3 tanks, Ghosty Terran can absolutely still take this game.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, he has the structures. Oh my God! Excuse me. He has the structures outside of his opponent's base to help out, and that's going to nullify Arbiters.
Yeah,
you have
that's turrets
out there.
Lot.
Suddenly, the Arbiters, unless they get stasis, are not going to do anything. Recall won't save you in this moment. Okay, stasis. There you go. That spell is pretty good.
It is more than pretty good, Tasteless. It is ridiculous. Now we see Dragoons moving in. That stasis beautiful. If he still had those other tanks, this would be easy GG. But he does not, so he just needs to keep on rallying, keep on reinforcing his army. And Ghosty Terran, come on, man. If you want to win this, keep those Vultures coming. Sends up some more SCVs, but the Dragoon count of Infernal getting big. This is anyone's game at this point.
Is there an observer there? I don't know if we're missing that, but I don't believe there is, which means these mines are not as useful as we might have hoped they were if you're rooting for Ghosty Terran. The tanks have been sieged up. Unfortunately, for Ghosty, he's going to lose position entirely if these the structures out here and the location where I believe these units are basically rallied is taken back by Infernal. And you got to remember, then it's going to be back to 2 base against 2 base. But Protoss has Arbiters, and Arbiters can cause hell for Terran.
That is so true, Tasteless. And you know what I want to point out here? Just a huge turning point in this game was that Stasis getting 3 siege tanks. In fact, if it had gotten 2 siege tanks, I dare say that Ghosty Terran may still be sieged up in that natural. Instead, Infernal shooting up in supply right now. He's at 109. Ghosty Terran, in the meantime, stuck down at 75. And really, Infernal, look at this, taking that 3 o'clock base towards Ghosty Terran doesn't even matter, because at this point, Ghosty Terran, he's going to work on pure scans against the Arbiters.
That's so hard.
That is so hard to do, man.
so hard to do, man.
It is, you know, without the vessels, the Arbiters are just going to whittle him down if Infernal uses them correctly. And just now, I clicked on these couple comm stats, and he's got basically 1 scan.
Yeah.
You know, it'll be up to 3 eventually, but he's basically got 1 scan right now. And this is just a ridiculously hard position to play from. But we do see in the natural of Ghosty Terran, he's making a few Goliaths. So, you know, getting the range of them, he's going to have to try to pick off Arbiters, because as the Arbiter count grows with no science vessels, he's going to get into an absolutely unwinnable position.
No, Arbiters can do ridiculous things. If they can't win games, they can drag games out for hours.
Oh, they can win games, Tasteless.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is, is if you get in a position where you're not going to win with Arbiters, you can make it hell for Terran.
Mm-hmm.
And all it takes is for Terran to make 1 or 2 mistakes.
Arbiter is one of the ultimate scrappy units. It increases the scrappy factor of Protoss units by like plus 100.
You know what's interesting about it is it's essentially the Protoss Defiler, where like you can actually hold off hordes of units. The only difference between this matchup and Terran versus Zerg is that you don't see armies clashing together over and over and over again. It becomes, I'm maxed out, I need to move here and do this, and that's where Stasis gets so strong.
That's right. Now we see Ghosty Terran deciding it is time to move. He does have a lot of siege tanks, and Infernal's army not quite as big as you'd expect for 140 supply. You know, he's got a little group of Dragoons under that Arbor in the middle, and back at his natural, he's got basically about 8 Zealots and a few Dragoons with some Arbiters. So right now, Ghosty Terran getting a good position, but he is clumped up on his siege tanks.
Yeah, that's
and
bad.
that is the problem. He's going to make a lot of turrets to try to make these arbiters stay away, and he's going to spread his siege tanks.
Absolutely. I mean, you have to space them out because, I mean, that's all that stasis really is, okay, I know the AI forces the units to clump together, and here we go. Hold that thought. He's moving in here now. We're waiting for the stasis. Oh, my God. I think we're going to have at least 6, no, about 5 tanks frozen here. It doesn't matter how well positioned the vultures are, the engineering bay in the front. It does not matter because Infernal is going to punish this unfortunate mistake here because had he spaced that out correctly, and I'm not saying that because it's easy, I'm just saying that because that's what Terran could have done to fix this. I think this game would have been pretty different.
That's very true. You know, if those are spread perfectly and Stasis can only get 1 tank per Stasis, he would have... Infernal could not have attacked it, basically. He's smart enough not to, and we see that Infernal is actually playing pretty damn well this game, so that's going to make it quite hard for Ghosty Terran. But as these tanks unfreeze, Infernal is going to just totally slam them. Look at that. There we go. The siege tanks just falling so quickly. Ghosty Terran in a very bad spot. I cannot see him taking this game.
Yeah, this is not good, and Protoss is taking the 4th base up here at the north. Probes are actually being transferred right now. When the arbiters, when you get about 4 of them, and then there's no EMP casted on them, remember, Ghosty Terran was getting very late vessels. He is producing them over here and upgrading EMP at the left side of his main base. But yeah, to be frank, yeah, it's really hard to recover from this. And part of this is Ghosty Terran's poor decision making.
Yeah, you know, he engaged that one really important battle wrong. His siege tanks were in the way of his vultures. His vultures engaged the goons instead of the zealots,
yeah.
And you know that just really changed the whole game around. Other than that, I mean, he's played pretty well. And we see another attack here by Infernal, going to clean up Ghosty Terran's units, and I think we're going to see a GG. Despite having that 3rd base at 6 o'clock, Ghosty Terran has no chance to stay alive here. So
this is it. His tanks are getting cleaned up, which means he has no way to push. For at least the next 5-6 minutes.
That's right. You know, TVP, it's all about keeping those siege tanks alive.
All about those tanks. I mean, that's really the focal point of the whole matchup for Terran.
Yep, and it looks like Infernal going to hit the 6 o'clock expansion. Ghosty Terran, I think any moment here.
He could even lose that vessel if he's not careful. Okay, Stasis at the ramp. GG. Great game. It was actually kind of interesting to see these two very different build orders interact with each other. But at the end of the day, Infernal was the better player in this game.
Indeed, he was, and very strong play there by Infernal.
Yeah,
I am impressed. It seems to me like he is playing, you know, at his actual skill level, because Ghosty Terran, you know, he messed up that one attack, and because of that, Infernal won. I didn't really see anything that Infernal did that was truly wrong. So, you know, that's quite a promising thing to see here. It's going to be a very hard match for Ghosty Terran, especially when you look at the next map that we are going to be seeing here